Okie dokie, Smokies. Here we go. Gotta undo my paints on those. I'm gonna jump into the next area down on this, so that'll be good. When unrolling your paints on that one, you can just kind of take them and pull them apart. Hopefully. After a while, you kind of figure them out, how to get them unrolled. And they seem to be, the first time you unwrap your paints from the cellophane like this, it seems like it's difficult to do, you know, you're like, where is it all going? But then once you get a couple of times into it, it kind of makes sense all of a sudden. But we do want to have them wrapped up so that we can keep them moist. And you'll notice when I pulled those guys apart, they're just like they were. They're still moist. They're still usable as far as our paints go on that one. Okay, so paper towel. It's always good to have paper towel to clean off your brushes as we get going. Okay, so there's my paper towel. Have my reference. Have my photos. Have everything ready to go. Okay, time to do it here. So we're going to start with the dark value. I'm going to kind of go through this medium section now here. And so that middle section here, we have some darks. And that is actually right in here. And this is kind of a straight part. And remember, when we're putting in our values, we go from dark to light. And filling in the colors. I'm going to rotate this around so I can get know where the boundary line is. I'm experimenting with a brush that has a slightly longer bristle. On the other ones there, I used a brush a lot of times. The bristle is just a little shorter, and so I wanted to experiment. Wanted to see which one, if I like a longer bristle. They're still a pretty stiff bristle. A lot of times, if you're using a paint that's not as pasty as this one is, you have a slightly thinner bristles on that that are a little softer. These ones are pretty hard bristle on that, pretty stiff with those. Okay, so there's that little piece, right? That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this little section right here and saying that's my dark value. Kind of like that. Now, in dealing with this middle section here, there's also just a little bit of a piece right here that I see right there, and then there's also a little piece that kind of comes up like this here, and it's from the bottom of the O up in like that. And that's the kind of the cool thing, because we're going to get into some strange looking shapes that come up here. That one's kind of needs to go this way. No. Let's see, Gavin Gutierrez. I don't think I have Gavin here today. And if you accidentally paint over some lines that you didn't want to paint over and make mistakes, the cool thing about this is there's no worries about it. Like that. There's also just a little bit of some dark. The dark mark also comes down into this area here a little bit too. Like that. Now there are some, as I'm looking at this, maybe some areas that are also down in here as it comes across, that are kind of going towards that little area. The dark mark. And then maybe a little bit here. Now, on some of these stuffs where we have more of the soda can here, it also turned a red into here. I think I'm going to use that as a gray color as opposed to a red color as well. Because the lettering in itself is white on those, so we need to keep that in mind as we're working on that. Okay, so in this little section over through here, I've marked in quite a bit of the area that I wanted to look with that darkest value on those. I'm going to clean off my brush. Then I got to transition into my next value, and that's a little piece that was right up in here. Now this is not a big change in value, it's real similar. And you may notice that some of your paints, as you put them on, they're a little thin. Okay, you put them on, and as you brush them on, they become whiter because a little bit of the paint is showing through, or a little bit of the white underpainting, the gesso is showing through. If that's the case, just bulk it up a little bit, put a little more paint in there, goop it up, so you have it working the way you want it to go. Okay, so I'm looking at that. There's only on this one, remember, because we had multiple values, right? We did have, we added a little bit of an extra value in there. We have that value, and then we have one that's very similar to it that we're going to put on that is a bulk of our next section here. Okay, so this one was the one right next to that, and so it's going to be real similar. A little bit lighter. A little bit lighter. Now remember, you want to also paint over all of those halos, right, or the little white dots. You want to eliminate the little white dots. Oh, look at that. That's looking pretty cool. And you can use the tip of the brush on boundaries. The cool thing about this one, you really don't need much blending in this painting of these cans because they have sharp edges between the different value areas, you know. Now this area is going to be a big area of this particular color, and I may run out. Now, you never know, right? You never know. Well, hopefully not. Stab those little teeny white specks. And get the top. Now if you have a board that's a little smoother, one of those smoother boards, then it's going to take the paint different than some of these. This one is heavily textured, and so as I'm painting on it, it really grabs the paint. But it does have a tendency to leave some dots and stuff. Now this guy is coming back all the way over to here, huh? And so I'm using the tip of the brush just on the border between the areas of value. And I'm trying to make my paint application uniform so it doesn't get too streaky. This is a big area here too, huh? Because it comes down all the way over to here. And it is still a darker red. It's not that fire engine red that you're familiar with the Coke can, because a lot of this is in shadow. This is a shadow side of this thing. The places where you have that fire engine red are just on this side. I will say that the longer bristles are interesting to work with. Okay, we're cruising. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I agree. Maybe there's a thing there. Clean off my brush again a little bit. Got a little bit of goop on it. Now with bigger brushes, obviously you can cover more area at a time on those. I do have some bigger brushes back there if you wanted to use them. I did go back in and use a spray fix to make sure my drawing wasn't going to start coming up as much. Because it was starting to do that a little bit. Yeah. I might have to go back and mix up some more of this value.
Oh yeah.
Not sure.
Not sure.
Not sure.
Not sure.
Nope.
No.
This. And I think that this value that I'm putting in here is just a little lighter than what is actually there. But I'm going to go with it still. Now this boundary right where this darker value is right here, I think that this is a good boundary to kind of poke up in here and close these off. Now all of this in between here in our lettering is going to be this value. So I just got to be careful around the areas. So I just want to go right around the lettering. Now remember, my lettering was going to be a grays and whites, a version of white. Yes. I might have to get my small brush to go inside those details, huh? Okay, so
Yes. Here's Stella. It's time to play. Do it. Do it, Alan. Do it. Sino Gomez. Do it. Sino Gomez, you Alan. Alan. Basta. Got to it. You're trouble. Teacher. You're in trouble. Teacher. Her trouble.
okay, that's coming along.
Teacher. Her trouble. And she's looking me.
The nice thing about your oil paints is they stay the same value. Acrylics, when you paint with acrylics, they dry a shade, just a shade darker when they come out, and that can be difficult sometimes when you're creating your paintings. Okay, I'm going to draw. I got to go inside some of these areas now. Now I might have to resort to the small brush. No guarantees though. I can use like the corner of my
Calm down, teacher.
my regular brush.
Calm down, teacher.
I'm calm.
You calm down.
Turned out pretty good, if I do say so myself. That's come along pretty well. Cool. Now I gotta fill in the A.
Calm down, teacher.
I'm calm. I'm calm.
Pretty good. Two, one.
Okay. Well, something like that on that part. Now that's I'm going to go down and get this little part down here too, because that has some of that same value in it.
Oh man. Oh man, teacher.
All right. Going along.
Oh, teacher. Oh man, teacher. Oh man.
That's a pretty good section we're filling in here, huh?
Yeah.
On that.
Oh, move.
That's definitely a major portion, a major part of this whole painting is this color here
This guy here.
and this value.
This guy.
So now we're cooking. That part in my cap. And there's also just a little bit here. There we go. Don't drop your brush. Kind of forging ahead here where I have these values just because this one is a darker value, and so this one is that lighter value. Just because I have curious how much paint I'm going to have to finish this part off. I'm getting down to the nitty and the gritty here, so I wanted to make sure I had ample paint. If I needed to mix up some more, I was going to mix that up. So I'm just kind of going into this part. Okay, so I just bounced down here and I'm taking into account this part. Then the other little part, the last part I have of this particular color or this value is this little part that's down here. And I was kind of curious, like I said, to see how much paint I was going to have left on my initial mixture on that. And I think I'm going to have just about what I need. If I do need to mix up more, obviously we'll mix up some more.
What's a cow? Crossed my way.
Maybe not.
Stop taking.
The nice thing about oil paints is they do cover pretty well. A little goes a long way. Okay, so that has that middle value taken care of. And if we have to mix up some more, we'll mix up some more. Okay, pretty cool. Just to make it look right, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to hit my darker value right here. So we kind of broke the rule of doing our, getting our darker values in there.
Good.
I think one of the nice things about doing this particular painting is it is a crushed can, you know, and so who's to say if it's crushed this way or crushed that way a little bit. As long as it looks somewhat crushed, I think you're probably going to be okay on that one. So there's a lot of room for not necessarily error, but room for a little bit of different stuff. So there we have some more of the values coming in there, huh? Move that up so we can kind of see. Well, that's pretty neat. I thought that was pretty cool. And so I've got my dark and my dark medium on there. This is going to be the cool part because this is where we're starting to get into the color of the can itself. Remember also that the lettering here is going to be white and gray. And so I don't need to put the red in this part. The red is going to come down here a little bit on those. So okay. Well, let's do that. So this is the red out of the tube, which I think will be just about right. And so as I come in here, we want it a little more striking.
Yes. Stop it.
Cool thing about this one is if I run out, all I gotta do is squeeze it out of the tube and I got it, right? Now it does have a tendency to be a little bit transparent, I've noticed.
Good.
Now it's starting to look like a Coca-Cola can. Now we get into the light side of it, huh? It looks kind of that red color that we're familiar with. Now this part right here is part of the cola, and so that one is going to be a whiter, it's going to be a gray rather than a red. This part inside here though, this is going to be a red.
Yes.
Okay. What's red and what's not? Okie dokie.
Iron.
And then this part, I think, is the red. This is red right here.
You gave to me. Hey.
I got some of this mixed up in here, so we'll figure it out.
Cut out.
Making good progress today.
Oh God.
So this is going to be a large area of red.
Good.
Make sure I just overlap a little bit as we change our different values there, so that's been helpful. Now, when we did our other painting, remember when we had our different values, where we did the complete value drawing? We did that painting and we had the values to go by and just painted over top of them. This one you do need to refer back to your original reference photo to make sure you get it right. I didn't see, there was an original painting that I saw of like crushed cans and stuff like that, but it was huge. It was like 3 feet by 4 feet or something like that. It was a big painting. It would be really kind of interesting. Okay. Get our different pieces in there, getting some reds. There's a little glop of dry paint we have in there. If you have a decent outline drawing, it does go a long way. It is helpful. Coming around here. Coming around. Wow, got a big glob of paint there, huh? Ooh, look, I got a little bit of dry stuff in there. Don't need that. Man, I might run out of red. Line this little part. And use the tip of the brush here along the borders once again. And we don't want to have any little white specks showing through on our borders. Have a little bit down there. We'll take care of that in just a minute. So it's a nice, easy transition. Okay, so now I have quite a bit of the red portion of it done, which is kind of good. And I got top and bottom on the red. I went ahead and painted over here. I was going to put some little bits of some lighter specks in here as well when I finish that out. And but that's okay. I'm going to paint right over top. So that's a bulk of the painting on the can portion here. I have a little bit of pink that I need to get going here now, if that'll work for me. Right, because there was a little bit of pink we decided, or just a transition here. I needed a transition. I can't have it go from one to another without having a transition. So we do need to have it, it can't go just to white on there. They have that as a little bit of a gray, but I think that this is more of a pinky color into here, and then I'll put white on the outside portion of it. Okay, what is this exactly? That looks to be part of the lettering. I'm not sure if I want to really hit that. And this is also inside the lettering. And so this part here, I think I better just stick with the values kind of that I have in here. And then underneath as well. Get some pink in here because it has to transition. Remember, it has to travel through all of the values that you have. So it has to go from the dark to the medium to the light values in all your spots. Now there's not a lot of the lighter area, the pink, but there are a few spots where we need to make sure we account for it. Now the pink that they have in here, it looks like it has just a touch of gray in it. And so that's why you might have just a slightly different look to it. It's muted down just a little bit. Oh, that one I got a little bit of graphite on it. Maybe we do that in two coats. And so that's just a little bit of the light side of the pinky. I'm going to bring this out a little bit more. I think I want to put just a touch of white on the edge though. Like that. Because on the initial it doesn't have a lot of white on the edge. But I think it might be helpful, like right in through here. Just to show that they're, because it's mixing a little bit, right? It's mixing just a little bit, so it's not a pure white. It looks like there's just a little bit here too. And with this application, I can afford to be a little bit goopy on that one, so that there's a little more chunks of this stuff. Because I'm not sure if this part is a crease, a crinkle, or if it's part of the lettering over here. So I'm just going to try and stick with what I got on the values there and see how she goes. And then perhaps just a little bit of white right here to help add what I'm looking for. And I think that'll be probably pretty good. I made some pretty good progress of what I was looking for on these ones in particular, with getting all the red painted on that. That was kind of a little bit of a goal I had on that one. This one, I'm not sure. This is a little bit of a crinkle of a crease on something, and on the painting it's a light area, so I still have a little bit of white in there, a little bit of pink, so I get that little bit of that reflected-y part that's right back over here. Now when we go in and we start to paint the lettering in and of itself, it's going to be grays and whites. Okay, so I think that will probably do us for that part. I did notice last time when I was looking at my painting, that this T was just a little bit high. On that one, and so I was thinking, if I drop that down just a little bit, that would probably work out a little better, because it has to go along the line with this one. And then also the A was just a little bit high too. So let's do this. This is my small white brush that I use for making my white stuff. And so we'll just extend that out just a little bit down. And so I think that that's a little bit better. So that lines up the top of the lettering right here just a little bit better. I dropped that down just a smidgy.
Hey, take that.
All right. So I think I'm done for the day on that one. That was a long little demo, but worked